Gonna thank y'all for tuning in. This is gonna be the first of a 3-part series going over the educational material that we had out at the Northeast Florida Hunting and Fishing Meet and Greet last month. And we're gonna start off with the whitetail's most important glands. The preorbital gland is the opening in front of the corner of the eye, and it produces the scent in which both bucks and does leave on licking limbs over scrapes. And then we're going to move on to the nasal glands, which are located just inside each nostril. They actually don't function in producing scent, but they help moisturize those nasal passages to assist the deer in better receiving scent information from the environment, from predators, other deer, and so on. And then we're going to go on to the forehead glands. Those are actually just beneath the hair follicles on the forehead. These produce a fatty oil that bucks transfer to a rubbed tree or a licking limb over a scrape. They're primarily active during the rut, mostly in bucks and more so in dominant bucks. That dark coloration of a buck's forehead in the fall is actually a result of that activated forehead gland. And then we're going to move on to the vomeronasal gland, which is also known as the Jacobson's organ. It's located in the roof of the mouth, just under the nose. It's actually not a true gland. It's more of a plumbing system that funnels scent information from a doe's urine directly into the portion of a buck's brain that controls his readiness and drive to breed. Tracking dogs actually use this organ to process the interdigital scent from a wounded deer as well. And then we're going to go on to the prepucial gland. It's inside the penile sheath. It has a lubricating function, and according to most research, it possibly does have an antibacterial function, and it aids in producing that rutting stench. And then the metatarsal glands, not really as much understood about their function. Whitetails in Central and South America have smaller or non-existing ones. It's believed that they function in body temperature regulation, and this gland is actually much larger in mule deer than in whitetails. And then we're going on to the tarsal glands, which, contrary to popular belief, actually don't secrete a scent. They produce a fatty oil that clings to those long hair tufts, and it actually captures the urine when the deer urinate on their legs. It creates like a hotbed of bacterial growth, which produces that rutting stench, which is unique from deer to deer. And to prevent bacterial contamination of meat, you should never touch tarsal glands with your bare hands when you're skinning or processing a deer. Just don't do it. It's going to contaminate your meat. And trust me, this is going to stink. And then we're going to go on to the interdigital gland, which is the holy grail of tracking. This can be found on all 4 legs of a deer. There's a small opening just above the split in the toes of each hoof. You part the hair, you'll be able to see that. That is the interdigital gland. It produces a cheese-like or wax-like substance, which if you can get that out of there and smell it, it smells like rancid butter. The deer deposit this scent, or the pheromone, in each track as they walk. So when they spook, startle, they're wounded, and or they're dying, they produce those pheromones when they run off. And this is actually how the tracking dogs track and scent discriminate, as we call it, to track the correct deer. This is how they tell whether they're tracking the correct deer or a live deer. They'll be able to tell just based off of that pheromone. But here's the thing. A spooked deer can also put off a slight interdigital odor for a short distance. But we'll go more in depth as I cover topics and go over tracking. I'll get more in depth in that interdigital gland and what it does. So we'll cover that in a whole different episode. But that is it for this episode on the glands. The next one, I will be covering the recommended wait times once you make a shot on your deer. And then we'll follow that one with the helpful hints and tips. So stay tuned for the next part.